Okay, now part 2 of the my poop monster made it into Terrifier 2. So go back to the last video and watch that one for the previous information on this. But as you can see here now, Elmo the Eye. Now, as you see in these pictures, we have a nice little picture here right now. He's in the theater right now watching Terrifier 2. But if you watch the last video, you know that the poor sad little guy didn't make it into the movie like his brothers and sisters. So we decided to give him his own brand new body. And look, here we go. He's already here and happy. He's happy to find a new home right here. So let's show you how we constructed this monstrosity of the abdomen, of the intestines, and into your home. So we're going to give our guy here a nice new home.
I love you, Mommy. I love you.
So, okay, so this will be... I paid a professional illustrator to do this for me. That cost me about like $750. So basically, it's going to be the wall turd creature is going to be a wall demon. It's going to be mounted on the wall, so you can stick it on your wall for everybody to be happy and walk into it and everything. And this is the basic form. First, I started with the mounting bracket. Now this was a piece of here. This was a piece of 1/2 inch. It was actually off of a piece of cutting board that I cut. Here was the cutting board. So when your mom's like, where the hell's the cutting board? Say, your sister stole it. Okay, so I just what would a turd look on the wall? I figured, okay, that's a turd on the wall, so I'm going to cut that out. And cut a little square out. This is going to be for when I do the, when you put a nail in the wall and you're trying to mount it. So I already did that right now. This video would take too long to show the whole thing, but as you can see here, I took a Sawzall and I cut that at an angled motion. So I got that out there, and then I cut the center hole into it. Now this piece right here to mount it onto the wall, I took a flat piece of aluminum, hard aluminum. This is actually off of a sign. And I ran through some finishing nails to keep it nice and flush. And in the end, I'm also going to pad this out so this doesn't scratch the wall. And I made serrations right here with a file, just so when it goes on the nail, it'll catch the nail. It won't go here and slide all the way down, just to catch it right on the nail. This piece right here was this is actually aluminum insulation, so I cheated. But I would take a piece of aluminum siding. You're like, where the hell are we going to get all this? Well, I'm a blue-collar guy. And I covered it with that. So here's the hole, and there's where the nail's going to go. And for the body structure, I took a piece of 1/4 inch steel. And once again, where the hell am I going to get that again? I bent it on the vise. I drilled 2 holes. You could see right here at the base. I drilled 2 holes, and I ran just two screws inside of there. 2 sheetrock screws, and luckily they didn't go through the other side. If they did, I would just take a grinder head on the Dremel and just drum that right off. And to keep the weight, oh yes, the nails did go through here. So you can see the top here with the sheetrock nails. These went through, I just bent them over. This is all going to get covered and supported, so that really doesn't matter. So that's just right through there. That'll hold that. That holds it right nice and flush. I used the sheetrock nails or a flat nail, just so it wasn't, if I had a screw, it was going to stick out too far. I want to keep this as flush as possible, pad it out later. And also for a cheat, to keep the weight on the bottom, working in an old building from an old stack, I took big chunks of lead. Once again, where the hell am I going to get that from? But basically it could have been weighed down with something else, something with a bit of weight to it. In this case, it's easy. Ran a screw through it, and that'll keep the weight on the bottom. And so in the professional illustration here, you'll see, okay, we're going to start with the arm piece. So what I did was, I took a piece of, once again, where am I going to have that? A 1/8 inch, I think it's a 1/8 inch inside diameter piece of copper. And I started off by clamping it on there with some epoxy. On the back of it, you can see here, I used a little bit of wax paper, just so, because some of the epoxy was all over the back, the clamp didn't stick to it. But I have to reinforce that. That's on there pretty weakly right now. That's just to set it in place, to make it easy for myself. So to support that, we're going to go to our Hercules triple play epoxy putty. Yay! I'm going to cut that and mix some of that up. Let's see, where they are. The old scissors. And get that out of there. Okay, and mix that up. And as you can see right here real fast, it comes in Comes in a this tube form, and you just, oh wow, this is a different version. It comes in different colors. Okay, wow, I've never seen that before.
Interesting.
Huh. Okay, but you just, slice off what you needed right there and then mix it up. Oh, now they're color-coded. And you've got like 5 minutes for it to set. And this is just to reinforce it. Okay, that's good enough. And we're just going to clump it up right in there. It wants to stick on my fingers more than it does the metal. I'm going to take a little bit of baby powder and poke that in.
And what is the baby powder for?
Oh, just so it doesn't stick to your finger. Because the epoxy is like really... It's really angry at me, so there. And you notice here, I coated this with epoxy and put a little sand on it for a little bit of catch later, which we call the Anakin trick. And, okay, unlike his brothers and sisters in collar uniform, who are just one gigantic lump of poop, he's his own individual, so he's going to have actually arms, so he can manipulate things. That's why there's going to be shoulders in here. So there'll be 2 arms coming off of it. Here's the professional illustration again. Got amazing work. Okay. And what I did is, I've kind of eyeballed it. But I'm going to give him arms sort of like the creature Pumpkinhead, where, okay, here's the arm, and then it'll go into 3 distinct fingers. So I have Pumpkinhead-like poopy arms. And I already have one at it with the Anakin trick down here. I'll bring that over. And this will be inserted in later, but... That will be the arms, which has the epoxy coating over it, and then the brigantine sand coated on top of that so the clay sticks to it. And I'll show you how I did that. Him there. I'll move this guy out of the way. Okay, so for this figure I use some steel wire, but I usually would use aluminum, so I'll show aluminum for the video. So I made a template of the arm, as you can see, for the arm legs here, so I can make them both equal. I'm going to take this here, and, well, here's the arm. I would mark it and bend them. So I'd mark this, let's see, here. At the elbow, up here, it'll reach the shoulder. And the rest is excess, so that's why I do those little squiggly lines on it. So, okay, I'm having, the arms will be, one will be kind of lax, and the other one is bent. We see that already. But for this one, okay, I'll make one, how will I make this? I'm going to have to get used to the camera. Okay, so that's where the hand's going to be. And then we're going to give it a little bend upward for this guy. And finally, this is where the shoulders, let's say it was going in from that side. I'm just going to bend that forward, and I could leave that there. Okay, then I'd cut that, and then, I'd also do the same thing with the fingers. We have the pointer finger, what would that'd be, I guess, like the pinky finger? Because he's got pointer and pinky.
That's all?
That's all, I guess that's all he needs. I guess all he needs is to wipe heinies. And a thumb. And I could just cut off the excess, right here, take off camera and cut it. Beak! A little overkill with both cutters on that, but that's what was handy. And if you didn't see my our video on the how to make tools, I'll show this again how this was done here. This is the sand trick. You get the A and B epoxy here. 2 little dabs of epoxy here. I have a little bit of So Strong dye in it, just so you can see it better. And we're going to mix those thoroughly together. So you scrape the sides. Go away, shoo, shoo, shoo! You just can't wait to haunt your toilets. Just twirl, 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 twirl. Okay, I guess that's good enough. I'd probably do it for about maybe a minute longer, but that would be pretty boring. And this is going to go, the piece that's going inside the pipe I don't have to really sand. But this one here, or the Anakin trick, every time I say sand, it sounds like I'm going to use sandpaper on it. You know, like the Fozzie video. Sandpaper! So they get that nice on there. Nice cover the whole thing. I always miss a spot because I'm old and blind and decrepit. Scrape, scrape, scrape. Get on there, get on there, get on there. Okay, I think I got that. That seems to be pretty good. With the expensive glove. And here we go. This is the Brigantine sand. I use a fine sand for this, but any sand will really work. Stick that on there. And the idea of this is this helps the clay stick to it much better. And that will take about 5 minutes to set. So there you go. It's fully covered, and the clay will stick to that much easier now. And I'm going to put this one aside because I built other ones for the video. For the other arm now. Now first I have to remember which direction it's going in. Because on several projects I've built the hand both going the same way because I am a moron. Too many concussions over the years. Okay, so we also made the fingers up. We did the Anakin trick, covered them with sand. Here's an example here. I took the Avies epoxy, a 2-part epoxy, and I rolled the little ball, smeared it onto the end, and then I attached it. Now what this will do is, when I want to put it into place, it kind of gives me a ball socket to be where I want to be. And then after that dries, that will be the Anakin trick once again. That'll be covered in epoxy and sand for a good grab. And this is the stuff here. As a matter of fact, you could use a triple play on it too. You could use the previous epoxy putty I showed, but I have plenty of epoxy sculpt. I love this stuff. This is what I use to make the little ball ends on it. This is a great product. Okay, now taking some of the Hercules putty here, this stuff here, now because this has a 5-minute dry time, this will let me set it right into place exactly where I want it. So we're going to mix that up again. Mix, mix, mix. Mix it up real good. And I'll have to hold this in place for 5 minutes where I want it. Originally, when I first hold it in, it's going to be gooey as hell. It's going to be one pain in the neck, but I just got to sit through it. And once it starts to harden up a little bit, you'll feel it getting warm. You could take your hand off as long as it's holding in place. Okay. And I'm going to have my baby powder ready because it's going to want to stick to my hand more than anything else. Okay, double check. Here's where the hand's going to go. First, I smear a little bit on where I want it to stick, just to make sure it's nice in there, really good. Right there. And let's go over to the fingers. We're going to go to the ball joint. Smear some on the ball joint. Well, it's really wanting to stick to my fingers. It's really angry at me. I'm doing a contortionist here because I'm not used to working with a camera. You probably noticed on the other videos. With Wellington yelling at me, get your hand out of the way.
Always in the way.
Always in the way. I'm like, no, it'll be fine. Trust me. And then I watch it and I'm like, oh, why didn't you tell me? Okay, smear, smear, smear. Get that in there really good. Ah, get away. Go. Bad epoxy. And okay, then this will be the hand piece right here. Okay, and before I set it in, I'm going to go wash this off my fingers, or else it'll just be a big sticky mess. So I'll be right back. Okay, here's the pointer. We're going to put the pointer in first. I'll work that right into there. Follow now. It's really gooey right now, so it's being a pain in the butt. Then the secondary pinky finger. That one's going to go in a little bit deeper. And as it tries to get away from me, I'm going to put the thumb in. Pretty much the same. Okay, it's fighting a little bit there. Get it nice and streamlined. You see, like it wants to move on its own. It's just like it wants to get away from me. So I'm going to compare it to the other one. Make sure that's... Okay, yeah, that's pretty uniform. Maybe I'll change it up a little bit. Maybe make it a little wider. Keep the thumb in the same position. Oh, wait a minute. Did I just screw up? Let's see. This one's going there. Oh no, I have to turn it more. Because you see, that's going to go into the shoulder. I wasn't paying attention. That one's going into the shoulder, so it's got to be like right there. Just spin that around a little bit. So let's see, when I put it on the body, yeah, let's get it right there, that's it, okay. I should powder my fingers real fast and throw a little baby powder on there and make it have a less of a wrestling match with it. Change of position. I have 5 minutes to make up my mind where I want this. Okay, I'm going to balance the top one and just hold the other ones. And okay, yep, that's good. And here we go. I'm going to hold this for 5 minutes or until it gets warm and nice and sturdy, then I can let go of it. If it gets too warm, let go of it. I'm brain dead, so I don't even feel the heat. Okay, 5 minutes have gone by. It's all hardened, ready to go. And we're going to do the Anakin trick on this again. I'll spare you from that. I'll do that at some later date. But the same thing, coated in epoxy, then covered in sand. And we'll put these aside for now. And let's get on to the head. Now, I already started the head, so I'll build another one just to show you. So we'll have a spare here. So I'll take some aluminum foil and bunch it up till I get the right size that I want. And there. And I like to pack it together with a hammer. Get that nice and as firm as possible. And I got another small piece and I extended a little bottom for the jaw. You can see with that. Now this is a very poopy creature, so it can be very Elephant Man-like. It doesn't have to, it doesn't have to be perfect on it. It's going to be all made of lumpy pieces of Art the Clown's foul matter. So, and that will be put on with... Okay, so I'm going to use Lexel to attach this together. And, you get the basic idea. Just get that on there and put the bottom jaw on and let it set aside. Now remember, this is going to be cooked in Super Sculpey. Do not use your regular oven. I have a special oven I use here. No food will be used in it at all, and I keep it at 220 for 50 minutes. And if I actually would put it at 275, the temperature you're supposed to put it on, it will catch fire. But 220 at 50 minutes has never failed, and I also have a ventilation system for this. So once it's cooking, I turn on the ventilation system, I get out of there, and if you don't, I would get a spare toaster oven and do it outside and keep an eye on it. So
Baragonis, show us the silicone again.
Oh, the silicone again? Okay. Because that was so into the best part.
I didn't get a good shot.
A good shot of it. Here it comes. Lexel. Lexel works for this. Also, any other kind of silicone. Silicone's very heat resistant. I've also used cork like Phenaceal. Phenaceal cork will also work. You'll have to put it aside for a while and let that go. So now, I have to do the indentation for Mr. Poopy Eye here. So I'm just going to take a ball peen hammer and just knock that in. You get the basic idea. Don't have to do this for 2 hours. And the final product is like this. And as you can see, the eye will be put in later. And the head will be mounted up over here. So we'll have this guy. He'll kind of be looking at you there. But in the meantime, I want to do a buildup of them, of the features like the cheekbones and around the eye, and that's going to be cured in the oven first, and then returned, and I'm going, once it's done with the oven, I'm going to take it out, do the Anakin trick on top of that again. There's a lot of sand in this. There must be like no sand left in Brigantine. All the damn sand I'm taking. Okay, so for the buildup here, we've got the Craft Smart polymer clay. I use this for the build-ups because it's cheaper. And I use regular Super Sculpey. If you've seen the video we have on the tools, so you should really watch that one first. That one, I use the Super Sculpey for the detail work. But this is good because it's cheaper just for doing the build-ups. With its adamantium covering. Open up there, open up there. And I got it brown, like nice poopy color. Keeping it in. So let's see, I'm going to just use 2 pieces just to tack the eye in to get an idea. I'll try not to get my hand in as much as possible. Okay, I usually like to start with, let's build this up. Now when you put it on thick, it usually cracks, but in this case it's just an underpiece, so I can work right over that. So let's see, he's going to be a happy clown turd, so he's going to have a big smile. So build up on this with a happy clown turd smile. Happy clown turd smile. And this doesn't have to be perfect. The Super Sculpey will be formed into the rest of it. This is just something very solid to get the original clay to stick to. Okay, give him a nice long clown chin. Poopy clown chin. So we've got the cheekbones. So I'm just forming a basic face on this. I'll put some off to the side of the eye there. The eye's really going to be bulging out. Okay, maybe give him a wider mouth. Smiley, smiley, happy clown. Smiley, smiley, happy clown. And let's see. Maybe a little bit. A little more of a build-up up here in the front. Okay, I want to add some more at the top of the head. You can also take some aluminum foil if you want to add a really large piece. Let's see, maybe give him a nice big lump on top of his head. Yeah, looks so happy.
Mammy, Mammy.
Nice big weird pointy lump on top of his head. Okay, now making sure I can take the eyeball out, because on the final piece I'm going to bake the eye in. So I'm going to take that out for now. And I also have to keep in mind, though, I'm going to have to mount them. I'll probably use epoxy putty to mount it onto the neck piece. And just to make it a little simpler for myself, I'm going to bake in a wire, just to give me something to give it a nice good grab. So I'm just going to cut that in there. I've kind of distorted them a little bit. I have to go back over. Okay, so I'll bake that in there, and then I'm probably going to use epoxy putty on here to attach the back to it. And there's wires will hold it in the meantime, and I'll use additional reinforcers, but that's just to get me the initial reinforce. Okay, so off to baking this in the oven, and like I said, that'll be at 220 degrees for 50 minutes. 50. I know I talk with a list, but it sounds like I'm saying 15 in the other video.
5-0.
5-0. Okay, so Turdy here is going to we're going to do the teeth next. Now, these teeth are from Monsters makers. They're acrylic. I can't put them in the oven, they would melt. But I'm going to do my own variant of them, where it'll just be like, evil clowny teeth. But this is just to give you an idea of how the human teeth work. So, I'm going to take the AV's epoxy sculpt. Here it is. Once again, my favorite epoxy sculpt comes in two different parts, the A and B. Here's the A and B before you. And we're going to mix them together. Okay, broke it up into little balls here. Abe's epoxy sculpt. And first thing I'm going to do is put it into a teardrop shape. And I have this wonton soup container that works very well with it. I'm going to stick that on there. And I'm going to wet my finger, holding that down there, smooth it out, and get that shape right there. Now, the reason I'm doing it with the Abe's Epoxy Sculpty and not Super Sculpty is a bit weak. This is much stronger. Okay, the next step, I'm going to start from the middle teeth. I'm using actually the back of the blade. Oh, no, I might as well use the actual blade itself. You can use either side. Cut this here. And try to keep them uniform, but he's going to have these jagged teeth like this. And then I wet my finger and round that off. Try to get that to a nice little touch there. Maybe a little too. Cut all of that off there at the edges. Nice cut on there. Get a little bit around it. And the good thing about this container is it'll pop off fairly easy. It'll still stick to it, but with these here you can bend it a little bit, and once they pop off, and once they do come off, I'll probably sand it with a piece of sandpaper or small file the other side, and just to make it just to neaten it up inside there. So that's the first two right there. I'm going to try to keep two uniform at the same time. Now for this one here, I'm going to start from this way. And you keep these little pieces, and you can roll them into another ball, so you'll get additional teeth out of this. Oh, okay, nick that out. Boo-boo. Okay, and I'll make several like that, and for the bottom ones I'll make them a little bit thinner and a little bit more, little straighter. So I'll have several different types of jagged teeth to choose from. And maybe make them a little bit smaller, because as you can see here, with the normal teeth you have the very large top ones and the smaller bottom ones, so I'll probably roll these balls into smaller bits and continue on. Here it is completed. Okay, we started on the first ones here, so those will be the like the top teeth. I also almost forgot the incisor teeth, these ones at the end, these rounded ones. So right at the bottom here I made a couple of those up, and I just took the knife and I just cut them into a point, rounded them off, And like I mentioned before, we have the bottom teeth, so they were just very small and straight. So I'm going to let these dry overnight, and tomorrow I'm just going to pop them off, file the back of them, and we'll be ready for the teeth. Now what we did with the hands, same thing we did with the head. We're going to do the build-up with the Craft Smart polymer clay. Okay, so we're going to put rounded fingertips and knuckles on it. So just a little rounded fingertip. Going to smear just a little bit of clay on there to catch that. And remember, I'm going to be sculpting over this, so you don't have to be to the finished size. A little bit for the knuckles. Going to put some on the lower half of the finger. I'm going to build that up too. Okay, and a piece for the knuckle. And continue on with the same with the thumb and the pinky finger. Okay, this actually looks pretty good. That's where I want that to be. Okay, we're going to do a bit of the forearm. Just have to pad that out a little bit. Let me work some in there. Okay, put this down, roll this up. So for the back side. And remember, you only have to get the basics for this. The detail will go on the final one. Okay, get some more of the polymer clay. Kind of look at my own. Oh, okay. Do the. Let's see where the bicep would fall. I'm horrible at anatomy. Okay, it'll just be right about here. And then it'll be a bit of the deltoid. Deltoid sounds like a Buck Rogers villain. And the tricep. Pull that out of there. Okay, so that's the understructure. That's going to be cooked in the oven. And I'm also going to, of course, finish the rest of this, the fingers. Okay, ready to be baked now with the head. And also I'd like to mention too that right here where we connect it, I didn't put much of a deltoid on because I'm probably going to use, I want it to be reinforced very well, so I'll probably use the Hercules putty on that and build that up very large and very hard into there, so that'll hold that steady. I might even crimp that, possibly. I'll see how it comes out, but off to the oven. There we go, nice and solid, so it's been baked. It's been covered with the sand and the epoxy trick. Right there, and now that I'm able to handle this one, I got the left arm, and I used it to eyeball it to get it pretty much uniform, pretty much get it the same way. So now that this one's is matched up, I could put this one in the oven and bake it, and then proceed with the as I'm going to proceed with the right arm. Okay, now that it's sanded, I have my mixture of Super Sculpey and Sculpey 3. The best thing to do is to go back to, I did a video on tools. That explains why I did that. Okay, so you mix it up, do it nice and flat, and then I'm going to begin covering the arm, and I'm going to do just as much as I plan on working on. I could probably work on this whole hand in one shot. I like now that it's pretty warm for my hands from It's just, you know, slightly heated up to body temperature. It's easier to work the sculpting tools on it. If I covered it and left it like sit for a couple of hours, it would get cooler, and I kind of want to warm it up with my hand a little again for the tools to do their work. Makes it a little easier for the tools. Now that it's fully covered, okay, I'm going to start from the fingertips and work my way down. So with the detailing. When I get to the bottom, now I don't want to be handling this after I detailed it. I have that tool that I mentioned in this one was in the other video for the sculpting tools. I'll use that to hold it, and then I'll complete it. But okay, let's start with the fingers. I'm going to take the fungal tool that I mentioned from the other video. Let's see. Right. And I'm just going to roll that on there to get that detail. And maybe add a few indentations in there here with the claw-shaped one piece. Okay, and we also have the those little wrinklies over by the fingernail. Fingernail. Yeah, that's a fingernail right there. Over by the knuckles. I have to take an anatomy course again. And let's see, for that one. Okay, I have this detailing one, which has the lines put into it. And I'm just going to give that a little. Not go too crazy, but just give it a little bit of wrinklies on these. I also have to hit over here. Ah, go away, go away! Have to hit over here. And for the fingernails, a lot of times I do sharp fingernails, but this will be hanging on a wall, and you don't want to walk into it. It might go up your nose or something. So I'm going to use the tool that I normally use for warts, but I'm going to use that for the fingernails this time. Because you figure it's a poop monster. It should be made out of corn or something. Okay, so first... camera. I'm not used to... Wellington isn't here right now, so I'm really not used to using the camera. Okay, so you can see that that's a little cup-shaped right in there. Cup-shaped tool. I press this in. Try to smooth it out. And then just add a little booger of clay. Okay, and this is going to be the fingernail. And yeah, good. It sticks on there. Then I'm going to have to clean that up. I think I could just press it in with the tool. And we have a little piece of corn poopy fingernail. Everything is falling off the table. Maybe do a little homemade wrinkle up here. Oh, wait, okay, wait. There's the center of the camera, going to the center of the camera. Okay. Oh, Wellington's at work right now. Wellington, save me. I'm not used to this. Okay, so there we go for the poopy fingernail. A little that way. Here we go, fingers completed. And now let's all move off to the back of the hand. So as you can see, I have to add the knuckles. So I blended one in there. I'm going to blend this one in. And then add a few different things. I'm going to make a few little rolls of clay and add little veiny pieces to it. Maybe add some small bumps to it. Oh yeah, I also have the wrist right there. The wrist needs a piece. And maybe add just a few little bumpy pieces here. I'm going to make little teardrop shapes. Stick them in. This is just for the yucky factor. Okay. Alrighty. Take the tool. I'm going to blend these in. all blended in there. And it's a little spot over here. And we're going to go in, okay, with the normal tools we've been using. And also some smaller ones, because we have a lot of little detail in there. And we're going to continue this right down through the arm. We'll fill in this area here, same thing. Different teardrop shapes, round shapes, little veiny shapes in there just to fill that in. And then we're going to detail it all. Okay, I think we're ready to go. A few small detailed pieces. Okay, before I bake this in the oven, what I'm going to do is I'm going to take a heat gun and go over it. Now, there's a few spots that might be a little bit bland. I'll let that bubble over and brown a little bit. And then when I put it into my Super Sculpey oven, I put it on a bed of sand. Yes, sand, more sand, everything is sand. Take that out again once again. And I'm going to let that bake, of course, at my usual 220 degrees for 50 minutes. Properly hit with a heat gun, you can see it's semi-cured, not 100%, but the reason for that is when it's going to lay on the sand's going to support it, and this will keep the sand mostly from sticking from it. I can always work it off later, and it'll help with the support. If I just had the regular Super Sculpey and put it right on a flat metal tray, it would just burn it flat. It would take out all the detail and everything, especially without the method of the heat gun to give it a little extra support. So, very carefully going to lay it right on there. Let's get this. Okay, now ready for baking. Okay, now with the headpiece here, we've covered it with the epoxy and sand, so that's ready to go for the next step. And I mixed up the two-part epoxy, that's the Hercules epoxy, to do the bottom of the gum. I rather use the Aves epoxy for this, but in this case I want to do this a little bit fast. So for the bottom, I want this to set up a little bit faster. So I'm just going to roll this up and use this. Oh, and as for the teeth, I've laid the teeth out, and what I've done is I've cut the bottom stem right to size, so it doesn't stick out too far. So I'm going to keep these all uniform, and put on your goggles, and pop! A little more. Right to where I want it, right? That looks good right about there. Okay, and here's the bottom gum. And the top teeth are over going to lap it, so I have to set this in a little bit. I'm going to set this right in. Center eyes right there. Okay, this end one I have to cut down a little bit. A little too long there. Goggles on, like in paintball, and pink. And a little more. Pink. And for the last one, yes, just to be on the safe side, I'll cut a little bit off of that one. Pink. Okay, and there we go. Now, I have to push them a little bit more back. And it looks like I have some extra. I think I'm going to give him a little pointy nose like Art the Clown. So I think I'll add to this and I'll do the epoxy trick to it later. Just for now. Let's get a little nose. Oh boy, that is setting fast. Okay, and I can build up around that. That gives it a little better support. Let's see, I think the teeth look fine. Oh, okay, and next, the trick I always do with the thin CA glue. Oh, is it all dried up? I dab a little in there to fill in that gap. Oh, no, I got plenty. Okay, there we go. Bloop, bloop. And as you know, it'll probably stick to my finger better than the model. Okay, that's very important because that fills up the little space inside of there. That'll hold it much more firm. Much. Well, the nose fell off, but I'll worry about that later. Okay, now to do the upper gums, I went back to the Avesy's epoxy sculpt. This gives me a little longer time to work with it, and it gives it it's a little bit smoother too. And I cut it to size, like the other ones. Find my center. Okay, the first incisor. There. Okay, 2 incisors there. Nice long canine. I think I'm going to cut that one down. Let me grab the other. Yeah, looks like a chimpanzee. That's what my old boss used to say. He thought a chimpanzee was raiding his garbage. He's like, there's a chimpanzee in my garbage. That's a true story. And he was so scary, you couldn't laugh at this guy. He was terrifying. He was like, what do you call it? Sergeant Hartman from Full Metal Jacket. Okay, almost done. Inserting into the chimpanzee. And the final one. Oh, this one's trying to get away from me. Uh-oh. Okay, yeah, I can keep them nice and crooked. Nice little smiley chimpanzee face there. Okay, let's see. There. Okay, that'll do. And finish it off the CA glue. Very, very important. Get it right inside those gaps. Okay, devising a battle plan now. Okay, here's what we have now. Okay, we have the head done up to here. We have the 2 arms. I completed the other arm. Stick those in there and... Okay, so I need a battle plan. How shall I do this? Okay, I'll sculpt the head and bake it, and then I'm going to add that to the body. I'll put these on probably last with the head. And I guess from this point down, from below the chest going down, I'm going to fully build this out and then have that baked. Gives me something to grab, and then I can add the other pieces. And then finally I'll bake it the second time. And it'll be the head, the arms, and I'll have the neck and the torso filled out. So, okay, let's remove these guys for now. Okay, so how do we want to do this? So this is a poop body sliding down the wall with a serpentine body thingy going up it. So I'm going to, let's see. Okay, mash up little pieces of tin foil. Oh no, aluminum foil. That's what we called it in the 70s, tin foil. And it's like, it's not tin anymore, it's aluminum. Okay, sorry about that. Gonna make lots of little boogers. I'm gonna pack them real tight here, and nice little small one, and maybe some big ones. Let's do some big ones. And where'd my hammer go? Get nice and packed up. Okay, I'm going to kind of fit it in there at different spots. And what I want to do is I want to make it look like a lumpy poo creature. Now, these ones here, I already had done. I already had these all wrapped up. And I actually did the Anakin sanding trick on it because I had just had like a ton of extra epoxy left. So I didn't want it to go to waste. So you don't have to put the sand on at this point. I could put it on when it's all ready to go. So I'm just going to build it up. I'm going to cork that right in there. Building up on the body. Got the aluminum foil on it. Pack that in there real good. Got a couple of taps there. And then just squish that. Okay, and you know, being that he's a big turd, he's going to be lumpy. So let's take some little knobby pieces here. I'm going to put a little crease in that with a butter knife. And a little piece of aluminum wire. Just stick that in there. Oh, a good shot of my hand here. Let me get my hand out of the way. All the videos of pictures of my hand. Like, what is this supposed to be, a Palmolive commercial? Get your hand out of the way. Wellington, does anybody remember what a Palmolive commercial is? I might have went back too far again. Showing my age again.
Oh, Lord. Palmolive, indeed.
Another booger right there. And let's give it the...
I hope you know what you're doing.
I have no clue.
Very good right now.
I'm showing off my Palmolive hands to everybody. It'll all make sense in the end.
I hope so.
Okay, lumpy. That's pretty good. I might reinforce that with some epoxy putty. And I also have to get all the little boogers down here. So for that, I'm going to use some caulking. Okay, I'm going to use acrylic latex silicone caulk right here. And this should be okay to put in the oven at low temperatures. And I'm just going to piecemeal this in there. All the nice little boogers. Got one big, large lump over here. Yeah, I can. There we go. Help reinforce that a little bit. I'll probably have to give that a day or two to dry. Aluminum foil atrocity completed. Now I also want to make little poo tendrils that are going to be all over the body, hither and thither. So, and I want, okay, so I start here, you know, the usual, okay, cover it with the clay, bake it, then do the Anakin sand trick, epoxy and sand on it. Then I sculpt over that. And the reason I'm doing this is, once it's on the figure, it'll be easier than trying to tool it in the hard locations. It'll be a little tough over here, but this will make it a lot easier to get some detail on the inside. And I'm going to touch these not with caulk, I'm going to make them more solid, so I'm going to use the Aves Epoxy Sculpt. And let's see, let's put this one right here. Might also hit this in a few spots here just to reinforce the foil along with the cork. Okay. So let's stick that there. Stick that here, and I'll do a build-up. Normally I'd do this when the cork was more dry. It's trying to get away from me. As I'm dying of Nurgles trying to kill me. Yeah, I got that nice and reinforced in there. In addition, when I cover this with epoxy and sand, I'll avoid this, and of course I'll hit these areas, adding a little extra support to it. Here's a nice big one. I might do that one last. I might have to support that. Let's add a few more on. And here we go. The tentacles are on. Now I'm going to put this, just for now, put this right here to support that, because I think the gravity is fighting it a little bit. So I'm going to let that dry. I might go over it with a little bit of just regular 2-part epoxy and just heap it up in certain spots, just to extra reinforce it. And then the next course after that will be coating the other areas with the West System epoxy and covering it with the sand. Okay, here we're going to remove the eyeball. Now, when I build this out, I'm going to do the head first. I'm going to sculpt this one 100% before adding it to the body. Now, I'm worried about putting this into the oven. This wasn't originally made to be put into an oven, because that was going to be, the creature, aforementioned creature that we talked about. It wasn't baked. It was a nice cold creature. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to build around it and leave it so that after it's been baked, as a matter of fact, the full figure will be baked twice. The lower half of the body, and then, well, actually, like 3 times. The lower half, the head, and then the torso are all going to be baked separate, then put together. So at that point, I'm going to leave this out. I'm going to just put some little detail around here, and then this will be added in later. And I'll use the Aves Epoxy Sculpt just to sculpt around that. So this will go into it at the very last. have it nice and baked, as you can see.
Is that really the way it's supposed to be?
Oh, okay. Well, something happened. We had a little accident with this right here. See, I used a larger oven than the regular toaster oven I used for this, and it didn't quite work well. See, what I did is I took a bunch of parts, I built my own oven, and it kind of got stuck on the on position when I wasn't watching it, went over 400 degrees, and okay, we have a problem with this now.
This thing looks scorched.
Okay, so maybe, how about this? Maybe I should start over. I'll do something a little more simple. This one here, I guess we could, what can we do with this? Okay, I have an idea. We'll use it for a piece of terrain for Warhammer, the Warhammer game. It'll be like some large demon, like, fried by Terminatus, because that's what the Space Marines do, because they're sissies. If they can't take a planet, they're like, we're gonna Terminatus it, and they shoot this Death Star beam off their ships and, like, blow the stuff to hell, because Nurgle is too cool for them. So, okay, in the future, this is going to be a piece of terrain now, because I think it may be a little bit too brittle. Okay, say goodbye to your original body there. Sorry there, Elmo. We're going to go for a new one. We're on a time schedule right now, so this one's going to be a little bit smaller. Maybe we'll give it tentacles instead of arms. Okay. Okay, jumping ahead here, yes. Okay, this is the completed project, but we use the same techniques as the ones you have just been watching. So this is the crispy fried one. So here we go with Elmo the Eye's new body here, but without the arms, and he's no longer Elmo the Eye. You get to name him. He's going to have a totally different name now that he's a new creature. Now, with everything baked here, and also what we did was, now, you notice I didn't put the eye in when I baked it, because I didn't want any damage having it to the paint on the wooden dowel ball. So everything was baked, and then the whole body was then sprayed with Duplicolor Red Sandable Primer. That's it's an automotive primer. You have to go to the automotive shop for that. But that's what works best for this. And now, for the painting step, I also had it, when I put the eye in, I also took the Eve's Epoxy Sculpt, and I built this in right here. You know, I put this in and I textured it, and that'll secure the eyeball for now. But I still have to paint this with a primer, so the closest thing that I have with a brush-on paint, since the other one was on the spray paint, is the, I'm going to use the Styrolidil, whatever the hell it is, brown primer. And I'm just going to paint that by hand, and then I'm going to coat the eye in latex as a masking. And that comes from the same video we did before on the paints and finishes, the Spine Chaos Beast. All of the same techniques will be used on this one here, with the exception that the original base primer color is this reddish color, because we want to make them more poopy looking. So this is going to show through more, be a bit of a darker color. And then we're going to model it with the airbrush, which is exactly, go back to the paints and finishes of Spine Chaos Beast for that one. And the eye will be masked, like in the other video, and then we'll take it from there. Okay, up to this point now, everything that you saw on the Spined Chaos Beast, that video has been done to this one exactly. I did stipple a little bit of scarlet in there too. That's a little bit of orangish red. So that was the only difference I did, but that was completed up to this point. So now for the next point, we're going to coat them with the main flesh color. Now on the last one, if you remember, on the Slaanesh Beast, it had that Cenobite blue color-ish. This one here we're going to use, this was the original color that was used on the original Poop Monster. And we're going to use this, but we're going to have to thin it down because I want it to go on transparent. So we'll bring this over here, bring out the shot glass. Woohoo, party time, Wellington. That's what happens when you lose the caps. It's like a Bill Browning sticky creature there. This is some old paint. Okay, this goes really bad. Let's see how vile this is. Maybe I think I might actually strain this. No. Yeah, I better strain it twice, maybe.
Might as well.
Might as well. Okay. Bloop, 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 bloop. Wow, okay, no, some still going through. It's fighting, but oh boy, wow, that is, holy mackerel. That is some thick crap right there. So let it strain. Okay, I think that's probably good. And, okay, there, that's out. Okay, so that's good. And I also want to throw in, let's see, get the cap back on. going to throw a little bit of the dark olive from Garage Kits USA, as you can read in that, Eric. Look, can you read it? Just a couple of drops, and a little bit darker. The original was a little bit darker because it was originally done on the creature was painted black and then modeled with yellow, orange, and a flesh tone, and then was covered with this. So this one's a little bit different, but this is its own creature, so this one broke away. Okay, we're going to take the airbrush transparent extendor. A couple of drops in there. There you go, and then we'll mix it up all nice. Make sure the mixing stick is clean too, because I don't want to put yucky stuff in there. Okay, a little more. Okay, I think that should be good. Okay, now we're going to turn on the compressor. Okay, let's give this a shot. Okay, oh, that's going on well. I got to remember too that I don't have to. The face is going to be painted clowny, so I don't have to do the whole face. Okay, we'll get all the nooks and crannies, get that all inside there. Ooh, I like this color. Okay, now we're switching back to the Sotar 20. No, actually, we're starting with the Sotar 2020. That was the other video. This is for the detail brushing at a much lighter pressure of 12 pounds at a much finer tip. And I'm going to go over this with the Garage Kits Light African Flesh. And this is just to hit the highlights. I'm going to just gently hit the oh, that's coming out rather strong, actually. So I got to go very gently and just get wherever it's going to be highlighted. Maybe hit the lips just a little bit. Okay, now we're going to go into the nooks and crannies. So I'm using the transparent raw umber hue, and we're going to fill in. Instead of doing all the raised areas, I'm going to do all the pieces that are indented in. And after I'm done with the raw umber, I'm going to go over the same exact area, but not as wide, just a little bit more in the center, and that will be done with the shading gray. Okay. For the lips, for a pink color, I'm going to start with the Garage Kits tongue color, but I already have it mixed up here with a little bit of the transparent, just to make it a little more transparent. Just a drop is all I need. And just carefully work that in. Work it in, working. Okay, I'm going to follow that with some rose. Transparent rose from Comart. Just a drop. Maybe a little bit around the eye. This might not show because it's going to have some makeup around it. A little bit around the eye there. I've got a little left. I'm going to try to spray inside the recesses of the mouth. And still a little in there. I'm just going to, a couple little deep spots. Maybe a little on these little deep spots here. Just to, this is going to get covered over, but I hate to waste paint. Oh, and I wasted it. And finally, I'm going to use some, oh, here we go again with that dioxazine purple.
Dioxazine.
Dioxazine. What the hell does dioxazine mean anyway? Who comes up with this crap? It's the drop. Okay, yeah, perfect. Just a little drop there. There it comes. Okay. And for that I'm going to do the inside. A little darker on the inside. And okay, and finish off in little recesses. Just to get rid of it. And here we are, jumping ahead like big time. Okay, the next step afterwards, okay, this is pretty much done right now, but I'll go through what, after we did the airbrushing, I sealed it. I hit it with some matte spray, and then I used Santa Flash and GP Purple, and I just dry brushed that on all the highlighted spots. So that took care of the dry brushing. That was the next step. I took, for the face here, I took Oyster White, coated it in Oyster White, and for the clown makeup, you can see it has the very clowny, arty clown makeup on the face. And then I went over that. Now I used a glaze similar to the glaze we used before down here, but this glaze was the same glaze, but I put a little bit of blue medium in it, and it gave it that bluish color. So that fills that in right there with the bluish color. Took the eye, coated the eye in some epoxy, to give, that's a very good effect there, to give it the nice like eyeball look and, you know, juicy eyeball. The teeth were done, and we're going to go to the Citadel colors here, the contrast paint. This is Nazdrag Yellow was put on, and a little bit was wiped off, and basically the contrast paints are of like a very heavy wash. But they really fill into the spots where you really want them to fill in. They're great. Also, what we did with another contrast paint was for the little turd tendrils right over here. Aren't these turd tendrils juicy? Aren't they juicy Wellington stay? Oh, look how beautiful they are. Oh, you just want to bite right into those nice big juicy pieces of turd. That was done with the snakebite leather. And snakebite is a group of orcs in Warhammer, and I want to start a snakebite army. Because, I mean, they got really good abilities back in the 8th edition. I don't know how they changed it for 9th, but they had like a disgustingly resilience to them back then. I hope they kept that. And that was coated onto here, just to give that was coated, you know, this was the same color as this, but it just added that, just a little bit of poopiness. So, let's see. Okay, we did some more, what do you call it? Some dry brushing on the hat. I believe that was with the... Ah, yes, here we go. The Army Painters War Paint Skeleton Bone was used on that. That's a very good color there. That was dry brushed on the hat. Now to finish it off, we previously showed this one here on the tools video, on the texture tools, where we do the slime effect. But I came up with a new effect for this. See, it's like all little giblets of like pustules and stuff that you find in your turds. Like, you people find pustules in your turds, don't you?
Yeah, it's just soft stool, I would imagine.
Yes, but they're nice and juicy and like little, they kind of move. Like, did your turds do that too? My turds kind of move. Right before I flush it, I'm like, hey, that little tendril kind of moved there.
Oh, dear.
Should I see a doctor, or is that normal? Maybe that's not normal.
I think you should see a doctor.
Okay, maybe I should do that, or maybe pour some alcohol down the toilet and just kill it. So we'll get to the, oh yeah, and very quickly, yes, that was just Aztec black airbrush paint. I just used a hand brush, and I did the clowny makeup on that right there. I can't forget that. But okay, back to the little boogers right here. I took that would be the Sculpey 3 that comes in translucent. And right here you can see I made it into little balls, all the little translucent pieces here, and I cooked them in the oven so they're nice and hard. So I use them, and as in the other video, I'll go grab these two here. We have the Beanie Baby beanies. Yeah, this one here, they probably don't even make this anymore, but this is like if you go to the craft store and they have the things for the Beanie Babies. These are like these clear little beanies that you use to stuff the figures, but in our case here, we're just going to use these for little pustules, as we did in the texture video. And what the hell is this, the Hellraiser box? Open! Bad thing, nasty thing. So we're going to have some of these here too. See, and these come a little bit, these are much more clearer than the translucent Sculpey ones, but you put the Sculpey ones at the bottom of it and build up on these, and it doesn't give it a good effect. So, okay, so moving over to our clear weld epoxy, we're going to mix this up, and I'll show you how that's done. Okay, mixing up the epoxy. Okay, it's clear right now. I'm going to add a drop of the transparent poisonous yellow from Garage Kits USA into that to give it a nice, gross, poisonous yellow color. Poopy, poopy, mix that in. Poopy, 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 poopy. Okay, then we're going to fill this spot in right over here, this little hole on the side of the head. And we're going to start with the big ones. I'm going to drop some of the sculpty ones in there first, the baked sculpty ones, get them nice and gooped up. Then carefully try to grab them. It's going to be a little difficult. I'm going to move this a little bit closer to avoid accidents. And kind of scoop them right in that hole. And let's see, where else can we put some here too? I have a little bit of these two little drooly ones I'll bring down. Almost, no, didn't. Land on the work hat, good, okay. Have them dribbling down a little bit. Then we're going to mix in the clear ones. Get these babies in there. All the little beanie babies. They're kind of like an undigested bit of beef, I would say, or like a blob of like mustard, a crumb of cheese. Okay, get those nice in. I want to work those on top of these too, like right. Get these over on top of them as much as possible. And okay, it's starting to drool a little bit. Let's try to get gravity to work on our side here. Keep that there. Not very. Put this here. Nice balancing act here. This is going to be a catastrophe. Oh, we have extras, so we have extra. Stay. I'm gonna have, since we have extras, I'm gonna put a little bit over here. Don't want to waste any, because I am a cheap bastard. We know that. And little ones on the top here, nice and grotesque. And as you can see, it's setting up a little bit, and sometimes I'll mess with it a little bit. I'll give it a little time, and when it gets to like a certain gooiness, so then I'll add it in. But you have to be careful. At that point, it wants to stick on the stick more than it does anywhere else, so you have to time it just right. And I can kind of mess with it a little bit as it's drying. Make it a little bit grossier. That's a word, by the way, grossier. Well, what happened to that light, Wellington? It just like did a...
Is it this one?
Oh, that one. Okay, when the lights just burned out. And because it's epoxy, this will stick right to the figure. So, I have a possessed light here. Let's see this damn thing. Up there. I'll just leave it. Have that disco effect. Okay, we'll let that dry. While that's drying here, we're going to do a little, I'm going to finish off the teeth a little bit with a dry brush. I decided to go back with a little bit of the original color ivory. Then you take your wart here. This is your dry brush wart. Make sure you get a dry brush wart. And just leave a little on the brush, and just at the tips there, I'm going to dry brush a little of the original ivory color on the ends. And then you have to be really stupid and stick your freaking hand right in the epoxy that you just had, and you get to smell it all night. It smells wonderful. Okay, a little bit of the white dry brush, and some on the lip. I have to clean off the lip there. And let that dry a little bit, and that'll be followed by, actually they have this color here, which I lost again. Here we go. They have the metallic ivory pearl, which actually has like a metallic color to it, just very, very slightly. They're going to dip that in there. That's going to go very, very slightly on the ends. And then add just a little wee gleam to it. Hey, wee gleamer! What have I done with a wee gleam? What have I got her? Oh, my old Mallow. There we go there. So there we go, a little bit there, and then finally when that dries, I'm just going to cover that with some gloss medium varnish. And there we go. Okay, yay! Let me clean off the brushes now. Okay, so while this is drying, I'm going to mess with this a little bit here. Okay, and our gooey friend here is all ready to find a new home. A new happy home.